Monday morning.
What's up?
What's up?
Welcome back to the Mortgage and Real Estate Podcast by Pinnacle. We're here with Knox Mailhes. Knox with Integrity Title. How you doing? Great to see you again.
Great, guys.
Figured we'd catch up.
How's your summer going?
Good, pretty good. I mean, I got to come up for air every once in a while.
Yeah.
I bet.
I'm glad you reached out because this is a I'm going to call it a break, for lack of a better word, but something we really needed to mix up how our lives have been in the last couple weeks. Just
Have you guys been going nuts?
full speed ahead. Mortgage side, kids side. Chris, soccer coach, me, and dad, and I've been traveling all over with watching my daughter play, and my legal work's full. So it's good time to mix things up.
I bet. I mean, so all the kiddos back in school like ours. The only ones I guess that didn't start till this week was like St. Charles or something. Didn't they have?
Yep.
A later deal than us or something?
Yep. And some of the colleges just started back because they don't want to put air conditioning in the dorm, so they had to wait as long as they can.
Is that right?
I
They
know
still
Marquette
do that?
University just started today, and but
Man, mine didn't have it. I know, and I lived in the 5th floor freshman year dorm. No AC.
brutal.
HE double hockey sticks for sure.
Well, we are here at O+O Pizza. The place is not open at the moment, but we were next door at the Clover and The Bee, and the place is packed for breakfast, lunch, and they told us to come on over here and do the podcast over here if we wanted, and they'll bring the food over.
Yeah, amazing atmosphere over there. We were kind of commenting because we're dealing with one of the hottest days of the year. Granted, it's right around noon, but people we're sitting outside.
Yeah.
But
That's my wife. We get somewhere, and she's like, well, can we just sit outside in the patio? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
didn't you see in the car it said it was 97 on the way in here? Like, what?
let me put my swimming trunks on,
And
and then we
she's
can go
grabbing a
out.
sweatshirt just in case it gets chilly.
You'll be fine.
Like, what is going on?
I think our food's coming, so we'll increase our testimonial for Clover and The Bee.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank
He
you.
got the chopped salad.
Yeah, the chopped salad.
Pete got the grits as usual.
I guess I never had them before.
I had a soup too, I think. The cauliflower deal, yeah.
So
Anyway, sorry.
yeah, no, thanks for meeting up with us. I mean, hopefully we'll be working with you a lot more. We do purchases with you. We've always done a lot of refinances with you. There's a handful of refinances that are back in the market. I mean, mortgage applications have been up, I think, nationwide, just because there's a slight dip in the rates for a period of time, and then they kind of readjusted and corrected themselves a little bit, went back up a little bit, but still very attractive. I mean, basically what it comes down to, for refinances, if you bought a house in 2023 in October, November, or December, you could and should refinance right now. And then anybody who's in the market for a house, it seems like the purchase rates are a little bit better too than refinance rates. So purchase rates are good. I mean, they're much stronger than they have been. We know that the Fed is talking about cutting rates in September, and that is the federal funds rate. So just to clarify, that rate is not directly tied to mortgage rates, but it does produce, it's tied directly to credit cards, home equity lines of credit, and it's the rate to which banks borrow money overnight, and then whenever they do cut the rates, it seems like the activity in the bond market picks up significantly, which in turn drives down mortgage rates. So, if you find the right place, as usual, it's always the right time because you have an opportunity to refinance. But in general, just as far as activity is concerned and everything else, I mean, I'm looking forward to a fall that I think will be pretty significant as far as purchase, business, and refinancing. But what do you think about that?
From your lips to God's ears, really, right? Obviously on the title side for us, title company partners, owners, what have you, that it's been a really weird year and a half because it's in my career in this business, you've never gone to having a brisk number of refis pretty much always. Now, they may slow down quite a bit when rates blip up and down and do their ebbs and flows, but for the last year and a half, when you almost have zero, like you guys, that's a pretty unusual phenomenon. So you better be tucked in hard with some of your various real estate agents and commercial stuff. We do commercial and residential, and obviously we do investor type things. So you try to diversify as best you can, and this is a prime example of why you can't take your eyes on that ball.
That's exactly
off
right.
That ball, sorry.
Are you seeing, and on the title side, are you seeing, like, what are you seeing for refinances? What type of numbers did you go from to whenever they had the dip in rates?
I would say that we were always kind of a 70-30 kind of shop. We never focused real heavily on refis because we know that they are fickle and they can go away at a moment's notice, and so you need to be in, because you take your eye off the ball with any kind of realtors, as you well know, and all of a sudden rates do what they do. You want to get, you don't want to be the refi shop and not do purchase at all, and then all of a sudden you're one of the 80 other people trying to call on that successful realtor at a time when they know everybody else needs their business too. So it's exactly what you guys experience if you don't pay attention to the agents and do all the great things you guys do to add value to the agents' lives behind the scenes, like I think we do with the data services and prospecting and all home evaluation resource, things like that. You're just one of another, I don't know how many are in the area, and even if that herd thins, which I've heard it may on both your and my side, not to mention real estate agents. We'll have to wait and see. But you try to create those good relationships and refer the people like you guys that do a great job by them and offer some value adds.
Yeah, and refinancing is not a one-time proposition either. Personally, I've refinanced multiple times in my current mortgage, and we have a lot of clients who do that. So while like Chris said, we're looking at an opportunity now and possibly an opportunity in the near future.
Do you guys think that the Fed has factored in, or the market has kind of already factored in the upcoming rate? Let's say it is a quarter point, like they suspect. Are the rates where they're going to be after that, or do you think they could drop a little bit more? And I realize that's all a crystal ball kind of thing that you don't have. But
well, here's exactly what I would tell you from the history of it, and from every time the Fed increases or decreases interest rates. So whenever it's like the news of it, the speculation of interest rates dropping is what moves the mortgage rates. And so here's what I've been telling the clients that are right on the bubble of having a beneficial refinance or not. Clients that we've worked with in the past, and we always want to stay in communication with them, let them know, hey, this is the timing, how long are you going to be in your house, and all those type of things to figure out the best solution. But sometimes it's very beneficial to refinance at the beginning of your amortization because you're at the very beginning of it. You're just paying interest anyways. There's no reason to keep paying that interest if you can refinance after 6 months and drop your rate. But the speculation drops the rates in the mortgage industry because then that bond activity picks up. And then the day that the Fed actually has their meeting and they cut rates, it seems like that morning the mortgage rates tend to correct themselves and go up just slightly because they already went down before the rates were cut. And then they correct themselves. So, and it seems like it's always kind of done that. And we are always thinking, maybe it's not going to do it, but then that's what it does. So what we've been talking to our clients about is, hey, here's what we've been doing. Instead of, the rates drop, and then we call 10 people, or 20 people, or 50 people, or 100 people, tell them, hey, it's time to refinance. And by the time they think about it and say, let's do that, then it's not even, what we told them is not available anymore. So we've just been telling our clients, hey, we're going to get you all set up and ready to go, collect all of your documentation, have everything set, and then when the opportunity presents itself, then we can pull the trigger and lock in the rate. We can have the conversations ahead of time. Be proactive about it.
We've been having those conversations at the closing table for purchases because people want to know, are you going to contact me when this rate opportunity arrives? And so that has become a habit, too, of just discussing that at closing. We go through the closing disclosure, you identify all the terms and the numbers, and that rate comes up, and then we take a peek at that amortization schedule. And like Chris said, we you see that those first several payments are largely interest payments. So if you're going to be paying mostly interest, why not pay less?
Well, I would think, like, to your point also, even, getting your proverbial ducks in a row when it comes to potential refi opportunities, the same goes, obviously, in the purchase environment, right? If you find that house, be it by accident, be it your agent calls you and says, hey, the one you've been looking for came on the market. I know you're not in the market, but yeah, you really are, right? And then you go and look at it. If they don't have their ducks in a row relative to you guys and the finance piece of that, they could lose their bid on that property and miss out on one they might be waiting on for a long time.
No, that's absolutely true. The purchase business is, I think it's actually, I think it's actually a little busier late in the summer.
I've been hearing that.
It's that's great. Maybe some people waited appropriately for their situation, or like you said, maybe the inventory is increasing a little so that the one they've been looking for, they didn't know they were looking for, is now available. And I was going to just talk about, you talked about some of the value added, Knox, that you guys have, and in addition to the list you provided, one of your big attributes at Integrity is just convenience factor. Many locations, and the personnel that we deal with there at a variety of locations are just
phenomenal.
We just love it when we're closing there because it makes life simple, and they go to work. They go the extra step. So I really appreciate that.
No, we appreciate that a lot. I mean, obviously, I feel like business owners and managers always say that, well, we're only as good as our team. And it is 100% true. But in our end, it really is probably more than many other industries in that, you may like me, or you may like Bruce, or you may like Dan or Jill, one of the business partners and managers, but they're not who you deal with every day. Right. So it's the closers and the processors and the team behind the proverbial curtain that make this happen for us. And if I didn't have them, my phone's blowing up all the time, and it's literally worthless because I can't go out and promote more business for you guys. You wouldn't refer me if you knew the closer they were going to deal with wasn't quite up to par.
100%. Angie and Dawn are the best.
Yeah, our relationship with you is one thing, but it doesn't carry enough weight, right? If you can't execute, and we don't have any issues with execution, when it comes to integrity.
No, I appreciate that, and you touched on, there are some value adds that we try to bring into this. When I got into the business, coming from technology, I thought, title's really not sexy. Like, it's not fun. Like, you don't go to parties and talk about it.
Speak for yourself.
Right? Yeah. Chris has a weird fetish, but other than that, most people don't. And so I kind of had to, being in technology previously, I thought, how can we add some value to what we do? Besides, we're faster, we're cheaper, all the things that you guys deal with in certain respects too. There's got to be some value. And so we thought about adding, I dealt with these companies previously in my corporate job, and doing, basically demographic type fiber optic connectivity prove-ins, and we started using them and just realized there's ways we can apply them to you guys and to real estate agents to help them find properties, find resale or refi prospects that might not even know that they're ready to do that by getting good lists together. We can get FSBOs, or we can get renters and things like that to help people position themselves in a market that might be challenging. Either that, or right when things happen like they are now, to jump on that opportunity, not be the fourth phone call they got that day. Maybe, sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. First doesn't always mean you get it, but it certainly is helpful. I mean,
and also I was going to ask you, like, there's many different strategies on investors buying distressed sales. What do you think is a good strategy for finding those?
There's a lot of them right now. We have opportunities for them to go out and find people, let's say, that did have a notice of default filed in the last 30 days. So the bank is on to them. The foreclosures have been relatively low, as you guys know, but that likely will pick up, unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to look at it. And if we can get our investors and people, like you guys, that can coach some of your clients to say, hey, we have opportunities from people on our team to provide lists of, hey, a lot of times they got a lot of boots on the ground that are ready to make those phone calls, but they get the analysis paralysis. Like, I don't know what to do. Or do I want to go over this neighborhood and just start door knocking and spend 3 hours in the sun and the heat beating on doors that really wouldn't be applicable? Like they're fine. They just moved in a year ago. They got a great interest rate. Like, what's the point? You're wasting your time with your door hanger or whatever. We could do that and say, let's dissect that neighborhood and find everybody in there that has lived there for at least 7 years and that has an interest rate that's above 7.5. That isn't an ARM. So there's another one. Hey, I want to go after people that have an ARM that is going to expire and they're not going to be able to get nearly what they had when they started that ARM. And you can maybe approach them and say, hey, we have refi solutions that may not be quite as good of a rate, but there's ways to buy down the rate or there's ways to kind of kick the can down the road.
Yeah, the reference to paralysis with activity, I just love it because I use that one a lot too. And speaking from experience, sometimes you can get stagnant in your activity simply because, not because you're not aware of what activity you should be doing, but it seems overwhelming it because you can't narrow down the scope of what you're trying to accomplish. And it sounds like the tools you're referring to or have access to, based on your background in technology, really try to narrow the focus so that people that you can provide access to that tool can actually act.
And that's exactly it. You nailed it. I'd go to these real estate trainings you'd name one of the big companies and you'd go out of town with them and you'd listen to whoever the guru is for this and you'd see the agents kind of, the Keller Williamsism, the ahas moments come on and all things like that. And they'd walk out and say, I know what I want to do. I know who I want to approach. I want to go after whatever, short sales. And then they get out and they say, how do I find those?
Right.
There's only 6,000 different places you can go online, and whether the data's worth a what or not,
right?
Or it's really expensive in many cases, whereas ours is super, super reasonable.
Yep.
We just pass through our costs on things like that, so there's very little cost because we've been buying it for so long and so much. But we can help you find that, and we can help you target the subdivision. We consult with you and say, hey, where do you live? Chris, you're, okay, you live in X, and do people in that area know that you're, a lender? No, not really. I don't like to talk about that, and I get that. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't want to be the guy out to the pool, the local pool saying, hey, I'm a lender or I'm a real estate. Right. They tell you to do it, and it is smart to do it, but you try not to do it, right? Because we've been doing this long enough. You don't want to be that guy. And there's nothing wrong with being that guy, by the way, because that's how you get successful. But we can at least have you target those homes. Some of these subdivision addresses will tell you duration of ownership and lots of other attributes about them, all baked into one spreadsheet. But the nice part is it has email addresses and phone numbers.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's unusual, and it'll tell you if they're not on the do not call list, by the way, so you don't overstep your bounds.
That's amazing. Yeah. And those lists are valuable at all times, but you can kind of feel or hear perhaps the wheels grinding. It seems like now is a really opportune time for that.
Well, I'll tell you right now, like with there's so many people in real estate agents, but I'm speaking in
tongues?
Mortgage people. Yeah, I'm speaking in tongues at the moment. Now I'm speaking in mortgage brokers or just people in the mortgage space. There's been so many acquisitions and mergers over the past couple of years in this industry, and it is going to be an interesting time when the refinance market does hit, because you have such large, now you have, the competition has been limited, but you have these mass, just mega companies that are gobbling up all the servicing, like Mr. Cooper and those type of companies, and they're just licking their chops for the moment that I already have one of them. I mean, they're trying to tell me, I got to refinance. I mean, I get it every day. My rate's it's in the twos.
It's super great. Yeah.
They don't care.
No.
They're saying, just give us a call, do this. So, I mean, it's going to be an interesting time. It's not like it's going to be this hog heaven.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
You got to be educated.
Cutthroat.
Yeah, because you're right. There's a lot fewer players going after a smaller piece of piece of the pie too, right? Because there are people that are at 2.5. It's not going back to there. At least that's what everybody I've said that's a lot smarter than me, which is most people say it's not happening. So there's a lot of people that say, I'm good. Then I am literally not doing anything until I'm ready to downsize, move into my forever home, whatever. And because I'd be crazy too.
Yep.
But there's also a lot of people that say, I don't care what my rate is. We have more kids. We got a big old house and we need to downsize it. I don't care what kind of rate I get. I still need to be able to move.
I need better neighbors. Whatever.
There's always
going to be that.
And there's just people that, by the way, just get ants in their pants and say, I've been here long enough. It's time to move up. I want to move into this bigger, cooler house.
Yep.
And that one I've been coveted for a long time is on the market. I'm going to go for it, And,
for sure.
There'll always be that.
And the opportunity with the baby boomer market. I mean, that's
the right sizing, if you will. Yeah.
Right sizing, and just the listings that will take place when the right sizing might be going to see the man upstairs. I mean, like that's an interesting opportunity. I've noticed that too with a lot of our clients. A lot of different industries, just to throw that out there, but the home healthcare business seems to be booming as well, and primarily because of the baby boomers.
Yeah.
And
we have some of the, I remember statistically, like Charlie Brennan on KMOX years ago said that in our area, we are in the top 5 in the country, I believe, for baby boomers. Now, this has been a number of years ago, but that's how many we have. Not only was our market, or if it was Missouri, but either way, we're in it, right? And like to your point, my parents, I grew up in a house a few blocks away from here. My parents still live in it. They need it. It's way too much for them.
Yeah.
Now, they're, knock on wood, they're in incredible health, but they walk every day and they love Webster, and that's great. But it's like, come on, you guys need to do this proactively. Let's downsize this thing before I'm the one that gets stuck doing it because I'm the only sibling in town. Things like that.
Yeah, sometimes the big house is not too fun when you have to empty it or if you're the only one responsible for the moving out.
Right.
For sure.
Right. And they're great, and they can, as long as you can do the steps, you're fine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you don't need it.
No.
You certainly don't need it anymore, but they don't want to leave Webster. So Chris brought something up earlier that I thought was pretty neat idea. Is like, if you could ever get that lender, real estate agent could get there and say, hey, all these houses over in kind of that southwest part of Webster, across Elm, across the highway here, there's a bunch of all brick, ranch style houses back in there that the young folks move in and buy, start having their kids. Man, if you could just create that education about, hey, I know all the boomers that are over here that raise their kids in this one, and they want to move into yours, that you're starting to raise yours in, and just start that little hamster wheel going.
100%.
That would be amazing.
well, you could
do it. It'd be hard to get that off the ground.
You could do a lot of. I mean, I just the neighborhood, the residents can do a lot when they are, when they bind together. I met with a real estate agent, Kiera Caldwell Anderson, and we spoke with some residents of the West End. She lives in the West End, and we talked to those residents. Amazing how that neighborhood transformed drastically. They had Washington University was incentivizing their employees to purchase homes there, and would give them a certain amount of money for improvements or down payment and that type of thing. And I mean, it's unbelievable. Now it's such a proud neighborhood that they, crime is way down. People that bought their houses for, one of the main things we were talking to them about is a lot of these people, they might have bought their house for $15,000, $20,000, $25,000,
something,
and now they could sell it for $400,000. This is not that long ago, like 2013 or 14, and now they're getting bombarded big time with marketing and advertisement material from real estate agents saying sell your house because, and so we were just meeting with them to present them with different opportunities that they could do with the equity that they currently have to gain wealth from your equity. So that's a whole nother conversation, but there's the United States has never had so much equity in the residential homes, and it's interesting when you think about what you could do with it. Now, am I telling you to take it out and put it in the stock market? Probably not. I think financial advisors would like that, but every time I talk to them, they would never advise that necessarily.
Right. Yeah.
Not this time, but taking the money out and doing and buying an Airbnb, or taking the money out and having some other type of a rental property or a flip, or just any type of distressed sale, or something that just needs cosmetic help. Tons of opportunity out there that you start talking to people about it, and you see the opportunities pop up, and then you're like, well, shoot, maybe I'll do that.
And even, isn't it true, you guys, that if, let's say you do have 100% equity in your house, and maybe that translates to, $500,000, who knows? That can be life-changing when it comes to retirement. And there's also, I'm told by real estate agents often, when they get in front of a boomer, those people in their late 60s, early, mid, late 70s, they bought that house 55 years ago, 60 years ago. They don't have any idea what it's worth. And you tell them your house that you paid $35,000 is worth $600, right, and they almost think you're lying, right? Because there's nowhere to go down the street anymore on your walk and pick the little flyers out, because nobody does that anymore.
Right.
They may not know how to get online and go to Zillow, which may or may not be accurate in the first place. But regardless, that can change their retirement. My question to you on top of that is, let's say you have all that money that you can now invest back into yourselves, and maybe even make it so that your retirement is that much nicer for you. Mm-hmm. But sometimes when you buy that next home, that house you're going to age in place in forever, it may not be smart to pay cash for that and still carry a small mortgage at the very least on it for tax purposes. Isn't that right?
Yeah, and the tax component of it, it's hard to give an opinion on, because the tax code is always changing and everyone's circumstances are different.
Yep.
But with that being said, there are a lot of proud investors out there. Financial planners out there who would say, I can do 8 to 10%. So there's that, and then of course the real estate market values have increased at least in that range, and recently, more than that. So the answer is yes, of course. If you're paying 6% to 7% on a mortgage, a small mortgage, then that other money's likely going to grow at a better pace.
Yeah. Yeah, I realize you're like me when my partners that are attorneys say, don't answer that question. You think you know the answer, right, Pete? You think you know the answer, but that one little bit of fine print meant that you were wrong.
The best attorneys don't know any answers,
Right. Yeah.
I was doing, to digress for a second, I was with my daughter the last 2 nights at her university, and we were, the first night we went out to dinner, and then she asked if I could help her with her law and ethics homework, and
business ethics.
So one of the questions I thought was, hope I can recall it and recite it accurately, but one of the questions was, can a business operate lawfully? Can a business operate in a way that's lawful but not ethical?
Oh.
And
absolutely.
So we went down that road, and that question was, it's pretty broad. You could think of so many industries where that comes up, but we were going through a lot of examples. But it's really interesting to try to, the laws, like the point is the laws change so much.
Right.
And so you might, not to get in the abortion debate or whatever, but of course abortion's one of those where the law changed. And, there's a debate on what's ethical in connection with that practice. Right. So that would be an example. And, drug consumption, the laws have changed. And again, an ethical question arises. Luckily, we don't have to deal with ethics, right? Oh, wait, I guess.
There are tricky questions, though. Yeah. You think it should be an easy topic? What's ethical, what's not?
Oh,
but those questions will get you thinking.
I was just going to say, not only do they get you thinking, but they get you thinking about certain businesses that you already know. Yeah, that's a prime example of that one, right? They're skating. They're just basically skating the line.
Yep.
Straddling the fence post, and at the end of the day, that's
The gray line.
yeah.
Yeah. And I come back to Chris. You guys were talking about that example of the West End, Chris, and Knox, about trying to find that way to communicate between the buyers and the sellers. We're brainstorming a little here, right? But it could be as simple as just establishing what people are thinking, like a Facebook site, for example, that says, friends of buyers that want to live in, friends of people that want to live in this subdivision.
Yep.
Or something to that effect, because that generates artificial intelligence, which is then a response to a search that you input.
Well, yeah, 100%. I think
That's a whole different rabbit hole.
There's so many things, like to your point too, Knox, when you were saying earlier, you go to a seminar, you go to a presentation, you're all amped up, you're ready to roll, you're going to make things work, and then you get back and the paralysis by analysis could kick in. And I'm always been a strong believer of not necessarily like I've mastered the execution of it, because it's always like, oh, maybe I should try this instead. But I really think there's really no wrong answer, but none of them are perfect. None of them are like that easy. Where, like Pete, if you're saying you create a Facebook page or you create some type of, then it requires time and promotion of that, and you got to meet with people to get them on it, and everything that you're going to pursue, it seems like, is going to take a certain amount of energy, and usually significant if you're going to do well. And every single one of them will work, but they all require. So you might as well pick one that you think you're probably good at and you enjoy doing.
And collaborate with other people that know better about that than you do, right?
Right.
You guys have made a kind of an art form of that. But back in the day, I think you were some of the first people I know that were helping people kind of get on into the Facebook thing. You had your, you had the various photographic equipment and recording equipment like we're on now, to help them navigate that. I don't remember too many people in our town that started doing that prior to you guys, because you guys had the office over in Chesterfield for a while.
Yeah,
that was a hoot.
That was a lot of fun, and innovation doesn't mean permanence. Like you have to dodge and move a little bit. So when you have to take some of these actions to develop a new promotion, a new concept, what have you, that's almost always going to be at the risk of leaving something else behind. So you have to decide, I'm going to do this instead of that. Like you talked about, Chris, when you get back from the seminar, it's I don't know if I'm really going to take on that project. It's you really still want to do the project, but you have to return 6 phone calls, and you got 13 emails, and you have something due tomorrow. So I'll get to it the next day. But guess what? That keeps happening. So you have to decide, what is it you're going to give up? I read if you would have I read this morning.
Sleep.
Well, it could be sleep.
Yeah.
If you invested $10,000 in NVIDIA 10 years ago, you'd have $4.9 million right now.
In what?
That NVIDIA stock.
Oh, right.
Well, Facebook's not doing too bad either. Was it $450 a share now?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know some people that did get on that one early, and it's helped put some kids through college and things like that, just for something they put in, not even that great of an amount back then.
But they gave something up.
They did.
To do that, right? Yeah. That 10 grand or whatever could go somewhere else, and the time to say, I am going to do this.
Well, I'm sticking with Dogecoin.
Attaboy.
I'm leaving it in there.
That's right.
For as long as it
to
takes.
the ground.
No, for real.
No.
I heard that. I mean,
this is recorded. You guys will see.
We will. No, but it's true. My wife plays with the digital currencies in our household. I don't know anything about it, and she comes in excited about some new thing and tells me all about it, and I just nod my head and say, "That is awesome. That is so cool."
Yeah, you gotta.
That is neat.
You just celebrate her successes.
Right,
That's the
it
main
is
thing.
neat. So how many coin? What now? You got coin purse?
Can I borrow some to
You have a
take?
coin purse to put it in.
You sound a little patronizing.
No,
No, it's called support.
it's
Oh,
because
okay.
I literally don't understand it though, and when somebody talks to you about something, you literally have no concept of it. You just feel like an automatic bonehead.
Oh yeah.
That's happens a lot for me. So
Yeah, are we catching a cold in here? I mean, this place.
This is the
they keep-
only place in St. Louis where you need a sweater at the moment.
right, it's
Ow.
at least 49 degrees.
How are the grits?
Looks good.
They were very tasty, very flavorful. I think that's my first grit experience.
That's great.
Yeah, so
They can sometimes lack flavor though.
no, they were
That's a nice-
they were flavorful. They had the tomato sauce on it and the
So that's what that
poached
was.
egg. Yeah,
And then the poached egg. It looked very good.
and it was
fairly healthy, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
consideration.
you probably shouldn't make it 3 times a day, but yeah, it's good.
Right.
I feel like I was well guided on that.
How about you,
selection.
Knox?
It's great. It's hard to eat a salad when you're on the microphone because
Yeah.
it tends to resonate a little bit. So I'll
How was
let you
the
know.
soup? 'Cause
Well,
we
especially
saw
the
you put
iceberg
that down.
lettuce.
Yeah, the soup was great actually, really good. Cauliflower, cheese, cauliflower, something I wouldn't normally.
It's right
pick.
up your alley, I know.
It totally is. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it was good. I bet you there's probably not much you'd order over there that wouldn't be good.
No.
Yeah, this place does it right.
But
And-
smelling
and-
the pizza here in the background makes it difficult not to go nuts too. I'm not going to lie to
Oh,
you.
I know. Well, I was hoping to come here and eat too.
Yeah.
I wanted to eat here, but this does the O+O Pizza doesn't open till 4 p.m.
Well,
It's pasta,
Stay here
pizza,
till
and
happy hour.
salad. Yeah, they have a really good happy hour. I mean, that's what I've heard.
that's a rumor in the street.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, I don't know. What about? Let me ask you your opinion on this too, Knox. I don't know. You speak with a lot of different people. What now that we're past the contract deadline with real estate agents and the commission, and how that's presented, where the commission that is paid cannot be marketed as far as being paid by the buyer or the buyer's agent. Now that we're past that and the new laws are in effect, what have you seen on your end? What type of feedback are you getting back from agents? Just business as usual at this point? That's what we've always done? Or, because, I mean, it does come into play. Now, the one thing that we've been receiving is real estate agents want to make sure that we are verifying enough funds, not only for the down payment and for the closing costs, but they also want to make sure that we're verifying enough funds for the buyer's agent commission, just in case
In the event
when
they-
they have a verbal conversation with the listing agent, if they identify that they're not going to be paying the
Probably
commission.
smart. I'm sure it is smart, actually. For me, it was a sky is falling, mantra at first, like it is for change. Nobody likes change, especially in real estate and lending. Nobody loves it. Title as well. So you got to get your arms around that. I think they freaked out at first, and they got educated, and most of them realized, well, I do that anyway. I didn't have the conversation exactly how I have to have it now, but I basically told them all this before.
I agree.
So for most that I've talked to, I just had to really realize what my value is and make sure that I'm articulating it properly for them to understand, and not just, hey, I can find this online. I could have done that myself. No problem. I could buy the house all by myself. And then look at the trickle-down economics of how that looks, because that's going to hurt you, because you don't have somebody on the front end helping them, coaching them to go to you, the right timing to go to you. So then it's going to be, oh my gosh, we got to do it right now. Hurry, 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 which I'm sure you get a lot anyway. And then we get contracts that were basically written on some kind of napkin or what have you, right? And putting your your lawyer hat on,
Yep.
Pete. That means that we get to disseminate whether they were written correctly or not, where normally they've been written by a real estate professional that's
Yeah.
been trained to do that.
Shouldn't be your job to decide enforceability.
No, and then, but what's even worse is what happens when you're selling by yourself, and you think a FSBO is a good idea. And by the way, that may be for some people. I'm not belittling that, but the way these contracts are written now, you almost have to be a quasi attorney to understand half of them, because the escalation clauses and all these, they've had to get very creative and with limited inventory, right?
Right. No, it does create like a new. I think you were saying the same thing. The initial response was a little bit chaotic. You get through the dust and you realize it's basically business as usual, but perhaps an additional communication component that doesn't hurt. Like maybe people were having that conversation already, but now they're doing it with a little more specificity or a little more detail. Mm-hmm. And that's good for everyone. I'm sure there'll be some universal consequence that we'll see.
I mean, it's definitely, it is business as usual. Like, I am going to make money off the transaction if you're a buyer's agent. I think they've already communicated that. I guess it was also probably communicated that this is going to be paid by the sellers or the selling agent's commission. Now the conversation is just, it does get more interesting, because if you buy a $500,000 house and as a buyer's agent you want to make 3%, let's just throw that out there, that's $15,000. So you're basically saying, all right, it's going to cost $15,000 for me to, I'll get paid once you close on your new home as a buyer's agent. And we don't, and it's possible that the seller, the actual seller, could pay that. But it's possible that they don't. And if they don't, then you have to pay me that $15,000 at the closing. And if they do, or maybe they pay $10,000 and you just have to pay me $5,000 or whatever the case is. So it's an interesting to go into a transaction where you're thinking to yourself, I may or may not have to pay this. Now, that's where Knox says people get creative, where it's like, listen, we came to an agreement, but yeah, if there's 10 offers on a house, somebody's not going to need or want that. They just want the house. They're not going to want the seller to pay that. They just want the house. So they're always going to be in the driver's seat, of course. But if that's not the case, then you would have to have a conversation with the listing agent to say, are the sellers willing to pay? We think we're going to buy the house for maybe $10,000 more than what you have on the list price, but we would like for your sellers to pay $10,000 in the commission for the buyer's agent, and then they'll just have to come. The buyers will just have to come in to closing with an extra $5,000. So there's some
there's creativity,
uncertainty sometimes when you're going into that purchase transaction, or those buyers may be limited to only being able to buy houses that the seller is willing to pay. Right. But the seller doesn't even know if they're willing to pay it, because they don't know how much traffic their house is going to get.
Yeah.
So it brings in, you got to know what you're doing. You have to have experience, creativity, execution as a buyer's agent to have your worth, and then also, like you said, be very strong at communicating how it's all going to work.
I look at it too. This is quite, I know we are all going to seem pretty biased because we work with a lot of real estate professionals every single day. They're a huge portion of the way that we provide for our families. And at the end of the day, I look at it, quite frankly, in all honesty, it's harder than ever, in my opinion, to be a realtor. Now, yeah, you can find everything online. Yeah, sure you can. That's the easiest part in the world. I can go find a car online too, but I got to go buy it. And if I don't have a sales guy, I just say at like Carvana or something, that's great, and they deliver it to me, and maybe it's great, but I've never test driven it. Right. I've never looked at it. I don't know if this thing is in good shape or not. You hope if you go to a reputable dealership, they make sure that they don't sell anything that's otherwise. But just like that, when it goes to a real estate professional, they support their families that way. They pay for, they chip in and pay for ball teams. They pay taxes. They're a viable part of our community that contributes to us, and always have. They always have, especially the good teams that support many things in their respective municipality or subdivision, what have you. Do you want to cut that out just because you want to save a few bucks? You can go get your loan online. You can get insurance online. You're almost about to be able to get title insurance online. Does that mean you did it right? I talk to you have insurance professionals too that I talk to them all the time. They say, well, I'm going up and this guy's girl up for renewal, and they did everything online, and they wonder why their rates are going to go up with me, because they're so underinsured. They're grossly underinsured because you just checked the cheapest box on everything. Right. And that means your liability as it relates to an accident, not because of you, because of whom you may have hit, heaven forbid. And you didn't take any of those, you didn't call into account any of those riders on it that help you offset cost if you were to hurt someone else. You're grossly, almost negligently insured because no agent ever had to help you with it.
We all are, so consumed with living in the moment that we look for the quickest way or cheapest way to do something. I don't know where to draw the line in life. You know, I want to pay less for shampoo? Well, yeah, I mean, especially as I'm losing my hair. But on the other hand, like with your biggest purchase, you know, for most of us is the home. And I like the fact when there's two agents involved in the transaction, because it creates some accountability too for both. So like you said, this is how they make their living. Not only are they professionals and, you know, and have put in the time and education for it, but they also have something at stake. And we're blessed here where there's a lot of really high quality real estate agents in this town, and you know, really impressed with some of the experience they bring to the table with creativity, how they negotiate, what have you. I learn from agents all the time. So, yeah, big advocate for that profession, continuing developing, and maybe this is just a way to make sure that the ones that really put the time and effort in succeed, and people can learn from them.
Great point.
I give you a real life example too of just like last week when I was going to get my plates renewed, and a few weeks before that, check engine light comes on, and it is, you know, you take it to a place and they say, oh, hey, you know, you need a new timing chain. It's going to be about $6,500.
Those aren't usually cheap
to replace. And it was just like, well, are you certain? Like, or if I take this to 5 places, would I get 5 different answers? And like, we're pretty certain. But, you know, then you research it, and now all of a sudden I'm the mechanic. I gotta do all this, all this legwork to figure it out, and take it to 2 or 3 places, and get all these different, opinions and estimates and everything else, and then it's extremely time consuming. If I did that with every single thing that I bought, it would just be too time consuming, and I couldn't do what I am a pro at, which is home loans. And and then I took, I did ultimately find out that it was actually more of like a $500 repair that was needed. And, you know, and it was just random. I took it to a random place off the bat because I was in a hurry. But if I just had that go-to professional, so I'm like, hey, man, take this off my plate. Thank you so much. Right. And I could focus on what I want to focus on. And I know it's smooth, and I don't have to talk to 3 or 4 people. There's a lot to be said about that. Just like having your go-to people. I understand you're going to make some money. We want you to make some money. Can you just take care of it, make a good amount of money, a fair amount of money, and have great service? And the mechanic's always a good example, because it changes a lot if you have the right go-to person that you can really trust.
Yeah, it's a good one, because everyone always says you need the good mechanic. So, you know, obviously on the real estate side, the professionals involved in that transaction, you probably want those to be pretty good as well.
Otherwise, you're working.
The information, all the information is available on the internet, as long as you're looking in the right places and want to spend all your time doing it, and assume that the information that you choose to follow is correct.
Right.
That's it.
And
that's the name of the game.
You want to compromise your time in doing other things that you're good at, or make money at, or enjoy. So
I'd rather be able to say that to my wife when things go south, and I say, honey, you chose this person, and it's not my fault.
that is the move, for sure.
So what did we learn here? If you need anything in real estate, you contact the Pinnacle Loans or Knox over here at Integrity Title.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up.
Yep.
For everyone.
Go to Knox's wife for Bitcoin and things related.
If you need anything, just give us a call. We can put you in the right direction to the right people.
Cars, everything.
Now that it looks like you figured out a way to eat your salad during the podcast. How was it? All right?
It's fantastic, actually.
What do you got? Italian dressing?
It's some kind of, it is a white wine vinaigrette or something. Very good.
Can't go wrong.
Nope. Well, thanks for having me, you guys. I really do appreciate it. It's always great to catch up.
For sure. Appreciate it.